Now, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, retired four-star Navy Admiral James Stavridis. He also is Chief International Security and Diplomacy Analyst for NBC News and MSNBC. Admiral, good morning. It's good to see you. So these are obviously never easy decisions. There's no equivalence, of course, between Brittany Griner having some trace marijuana in her bag and an arms dealer who's been in jail already in the United States for 7 years. But as you and I have talked about on this show, if you want to bring her and Paul Whelan home, it may come at that price.
Indeed. And, there's obvious wonderful upside here, getting Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan and hopefully constructing other similar deals. I think there are over 40 Americans who are unlawfully, illegally, immorally detained overseas. So this puts momentum under that idea. That's a good thing. The bad news, Willie, is this guy, Victor Bout, is bad news. If you're not familiar with him and his background, you can Google him, B-O-U-T. He is not only an arms dealer, he has American blood on his hands. When I was commander, U.S. Southern Command, he was captured in 2008. And we were celebrating because he was the one supplying weapons to the FARC, the terrorists in Colombia, killing Americans. And so, as Tony Blinken said, these are never easy decisions. The president has to weigh this. But I think he is doing everything he can to bring these Americans home, understandably.
Admiral, we certainly hope, all of us, that this deal is consummated despite the vile Russian under prison, in federal prison here. I'd like to talk to you about Ukraine, though, what's going on in Ukraine. Have you been surprised at all by the sort of pathetic logistical expertise or lack of expertise the Russian army has displayed over the months that this war has been going on?
I was a bit surprised at the beginning of this thing, but as it's gone on, the Russians have simply shown very little appetite or inclination to improve. And that is true not only in the failing logistics efforts, but also they continue these manifest war crimes. Their battle plans are ridiculously bad as a general proposition. Now, however, they have concentrated their forces in the southeast. That makes them more formidable. It makes their logistics easier. The challenges remain. Bottom line, we need to keep doing what we're doing, which is providing the tools to the Ukrainians. These new HIMARS surface-to-surface missiles are striking, Mike, at those logistic logheads behind forward lines. That's a very good thing. We need to give them more anti-ship cruise missiles. Final thought here, we need to be putting jets in the hands of the Ukrainians. A lot of serious discussion about training them to fly American aircraft, including the F-16. Not that complicated a jet. It could make a big difference in, as the Ukrainians say, closing their skies.
Yeah, as the Admiral said, there's still a lot of discussion about what the US and allies are supplying the Ukrainians. Let's get a quick update on what's actually happening on the ground. Local officials say that Ukrainian forces have hit a key strategic bridge in the Russian-occupied southern city of Kherson. Officials say Ukrainians used multiple rocket launchers supplied by the US to strike the bridge, which was being used as a supply route by Russian forces. The strike comes as Ukraine has launched a major counteroffensive to retake Kherson, which fell to the Russians during the early days of the war. The damage to the bridge will make it harder for the Russian military to keep supplying its forces in the region. So that's a positive sign for the Ukrainians. Meanwhile, Russian forces, they've taken over Ukraine's second largest power plant in the eastern Donetsk region. An advisor to President Zelensky confirmed the capture yesterday, but said it was only, quote, a tiny tactical advantage for Moscow. Seizing the plant is the first strategic gain by the Russians in eastern Ukraine in more than 3 weeks, as they have been trying to control the entire Donbass region. Admiral Stavridis, when you look at where we are in the war now, and it's been a messy few weeks with some gains by the Ukrainians, some gains by the Russians, as we just laid out there, what's your assessment of where things are?
Well, the course of war does not run smoothly. It's the most unpredictable of human activities. At this moment, I would say, look to the sea. look to what's happening in the Black Sea. The potential for unlocking grain shipments out of Odessa, very positive development. On the other hand, Russia striking with caliber cruise missiles, that vital port, like striking Los Angeles, Long Beach in the United States. So, Caddy, it's a mixed bag, clearly, but two things I think are very positive. One is the continuing effort for offensive operations around that town you just mentioned, Kherson. It controls the approaches, the water supply to the Crimea. It opens a front, if you will, behind Russian ability to go after the Odessa region. And that's the second positive point. Russia just does not seem to be able to mount the kind of sweeping attacks that we were worried about 4 and 5 months ago. Their progress is going to be incremental at best. Long term, I would not want the hand of cards that Vladimir Putin holds. Time is not on his side as continuing aid pours into the hands of the Ukrainians.
Admiral, let's shift focus a little bit and talk about China. A very important phone call in a couple of hours. President Biden speaking to his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping. A phone call, the two men have not spoken in months. It comes at a time with renewed U.S. concern about what China may be doing to Taiwan. It comes at a time of great economic rivalry between the two countries. And it comes at a time when the U.S. is frustrated that Beijing has not condemned Russia's war effort and has even been a soft partner in keeping the Russian economy afloat. How would you set the agenda for the President of the United States today? What are the stakes?
The stakes are enormous, and I'll add another shrimp on the barbecue of what you just mentioned, the potential trip of Speaker Pelosi to China. Very worrisome in the sense that it'll be inflammatory in China. It's occurring in the run-up to the 20th Party Congress. President Xi can't afford to look weak in the face of that. That is another potential point of real concern. The phone call, frankly, couldn't come at a better time, Jonathan, in the sense that tensions are ratcheting up. You identified correctly, Ukraine will be high on the agenda. Another one will be, should the sides de-escalate in economics, reduce tariffs. Here that could reduce inflationary pressure. And then third, I think a very potentially good topic where there can be some bridging is on climate. Where both sides obviously have a need to make improvements globally. So there are some goods and some others on this agenda. I'll add one final one. As a former military officer, I hope and I suspect both sides will be talking about de-escalating, if you will, nose to nose, ship to ship, air to air confrontations, notably in the South China Sea and around Taiwan. How do we de-escalate? Create some real standoff between our forces, because those have been ratcheting up a bit as well. Overall, I'm hopeful you'll get a good readout from this phone call, and it will do something to de-escalate the tensions that have been rising recently.
Admiral, you mentioned Speaker Pelosi's potential trip to Taiwan getting a lot of attention. Of course, Republicans cheering her, saying, yes, go to Taiwan. Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, saying, I'll go with you, Speaker Pelosi. You said that could be an inflammatory trip. What would that mean as a practical question? Let's say Speaker Pelosi goes, she lands in Taiwan. How does China respond?
China could respond in a number of ways, none of which would be helpful. Notably, they could put aircraft up, put a record number of military aircraft into the Taiwan Strait. That number's been going up as the year's been going on. They could put ships in and around Taiwan. They could use cyber to generate a massive cyber attack. How about taking down the air traffic control system around Taipei while the speaker's plane is trying to land? I can think of a number of other things I don't even want to mention. So let's hope we don't see a reaction from China. Let's hope that the speaker considers very carefully whether this is an advisable trip or not. You know, bottom line, we, the United States, can't allow China to dictate who from our government, who from our nation goes to Taiwan. I've gone to Taiwan. I've met with Madam Tsai, the leader of Taiwan, but I'm not the Speaker of the House at a moment of high tension. So we have to be sensible on our side. Let's hope the Chinese will be sensible on their side as well.
We will see what Speaker Pelosi decides. She's been tight-lipped so far about those plans. Retired four-star Navy Admiral James Stavridis covering an awful lot of ground for us this morning. Admiral, thanks so much.